episode of Monitor Your Health, the program where we educate the public on contemporary issues around health. My name remains Dr. Femi Ogunremi, and today we'll be talking about eye problems in children. We know there are a lot of issues that, happens in children around the eyes because they can't talk, they can't express, especially during early years. It's so difficult to identify this by the parents. And today, for us to discuss this properly, we have an expert. We have Professor Dupe Ademola-Popoola. She will be engaging the public today on this. You're very much welcome, ma.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. So we've been waiting to hear about, eye problem in children. We know that kids, they can't communicate with us. And when things go wrong at early life, it's difficult for us as parents to actually, to know. So we want to hear from you today how to identify this and what we need to be doing as parents. So please, what do we mean by this eye problem in children? Maybe it might be the best way to start.
Thank you very much. Good morning. And thank you for doing this for our people, that you give us the opportunity to share from our experiences on how they can get better in their health care. So like you said, today we're looking at causes of eye problem from birth to age 5. That's a very small, narrow group, but it's very important because the morning tells the evening. I think that's what Yorubas say. So we're looking at those problems that affect the eye and vision, such that if we do not pay attention to them, we may end up having a child being needlessly blind, which we must avoid because we know that vision is an economic issue. And so today we're looking at these kind of precious ones that you can see on my slide, from the one born premature to the one just starting maybe primary school, or some are saying nursery school. So interest is that they may see and see well to keep them through their lives. So that's what we'll be discussing briefly. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Mark. So what are these problems, and what do we need to know as parents at this early time when these kids cannot communicate?
Thank you very much. We know that children, they are actually God's heritage to us. So there is a responsibility given to us by God to raise them, to take care of them. And in this instance, we're looking at the physical aspect of looking after them. And like you mentioned, these children many of them don't even have a different experience. Even the ones that are already able to speak, they do not know that it shouldn't be the way it is. So they really likely depend on adults to figure out that something is wrong and to do something about it. But I would like to put this in perspective for you to know the importance of this. If you look at the picture to the left of the screen, it's probably a familiar sight in many of our cities in Nigeria and perhaps in other parts of Africa, where you see a grown-up man or woman who is blind being led about by a child. And if you look closely, you will notice that the child changes from time to time because the life of that man is closely knitted to that of that child. And so this man you're looking at, we did a survey about 15 years ago and found out that 7 out of 10 beggars, they beg because of blindness. If you pick 8 of these together, 10 of these together, 8 of them have never had an eye examination. And these 7 out of the 10 who has been blind have been blind from childhood. So this man that you are seeing has grown here, actually, most probably has been blind from childhood, from early in life, from the age group that we're looking at today. And 8 out of the 10 reasons for which they are blind are avoidable. In other words, they may be preventable or treatable. And the prevention, if we know it, is cheaper and available than the treatment. But in some instances, the treatment is the only thing we can do. This treatment, though more expensive than the prevention, is cheaper than rehabilitation of the blind. And I'll be speaking more on that as we go on. More perspectives for us. Most childhood vision problems, they are in Asia and Africa. And when we say Africa, you know, 1 out of every 5 Black men is a Nigerian. So we constitute the greater number of people affected by the problem we are discussing. We have rapid eye changes and vision occurring in the first 2 years of life. So this is the most critical time for changes that relates to our vision or otherwise. And like we mentioned, children do not have any experience with which to know that I am not seeing well. They think everybody doesn't see well because that is the only one they have come to if it starts so early in life. And we also know that vision drives development, not just vision for administration, for management. Sight also drives development. And so when vision is affected, especially early in life, the child lags in almost every other area because 83% of learning in early life is through vision. Children learn to speak by watching adults. They learn to eat by watching adults. In fact, they learn to move from point to point because of the things they see that are attractive to them that they want to go and reach. So when a child does not see well, they will have delay in everything. Even though their limbs, their legs are okay, they are not likely to crawl on time or walk on time because there's nothing driving that. It's not because they have any muscular problem, but the attraction to go after something, or if they go and they bump into something, then they withdraw and they no longer. So when there's vision problem, they lag in communication, in mobility, in ability to feed themselves, and of course, academically. I'd like to give you some very local statistics about what we're dealing with. We just concluded a 15-month-long study across Nigeria among children with special needs who are in school. And I must say to us that 90% of children who are blind don't go to school. So when you see this number in school, they represent the 10% who are probably having visual problems. And about 50 to 60% of these children, they die within 2 years of blindness, often because they are neglected. Families really don't want people to know, and rather they die, and also because it's associated with some other problem that increase mortality. So if we're going to keep our children, the children that form 44% of our population, it's an economic issue for any country. Look at China with their huge population. Recently, they changed regulation to allow families to have more children because they understand the import of having the population because they are able to manage them. So if we want this future of ours that will be the economic workforce, we're going to have to look at this. Now, what does this show us? The chart before us shows. We look at the registration of children in all schools for children with special needs in Nigeria. And we went across 36 states, with, including FCT. We had 269 such schools. What it showed us is that between low vision and blindness, we have over 3,600 children who are either blind. 2,500 of them are blind outrightly, while 1,209 have low vision. And imagine that I told you that this will just form about 10% of the actual in our country. Because if you recall, many of these our special schools, they are in cities. So children who have problems in other parts of the country, they don't get to be able to get this education. And so they come about just 10%.
Mute our phone.
I think somebody needs to mute. So that is an important information for us. Dr. Grace, can you mute everybody and then unmute me?
That might be better. Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much. So we will continue.
Okay.
So, I want to mention here that disability also tends to go together. Even though we mentioned here that there are about 3,600 in those schools who are blind or severely visually impaired, these 63% that are deaf, forming 16,547 children, about 1/3 of those that were referred as a result of vision problem also have hearing impairments. In other words, we still have some within these ones that are deaf who also have vision problem, because they, likewise, the ones that are mentally challenged. But in terms of enrollment into school, the ones that are enrolled for being blind or visually impaired, they were about 3,600, and that would be like 10% of the actual. But within the deaf, which form the largest number of children with special needs, and the mentally challenged, we also have a significant number that have vision problems. They may not be blind. I also would like to add here that the causes of deafness, mentally challenge also cause visual impairment. So if we solve one problem, we may be solving several. We may be having fewer children who are deaf in school or roaming the streets begging, or those that are mentally challenged just by listening to this talk today. Let me continue. And what we also have known over the years is that the education of parents is really notwithstanding with respect to what they know and what they do when it comes to visual impairment in children. We have seen graduates whose child does not see and they actually think it was something else. And good vision is linked to good academic performance. And there are children placed wrongly in schools as being special, just because nobody checked. The problem they have can easily be reversed. This last week, I had to look after a child, and the child came with blindness for which we provided treatment. We then examined both parents. Both of them also are blind. We examined one of them. The reason for blindness in one of the parents was something completely treatable, which we also provided treatment for the first time, a grown-up man. That man didn't need to grow up blind if someone had done something at the early stage of life. Thankfully, we're still able to do something to improve the lot of the person. And rehabilitation of the blind requires about 6 times what you need to raise a sighted child. So it's an economic issue, and it's better that we do something about it. There's a critical stage, unfortunately, where optimal outcome is expected. If you treat a child in the first year of life, the outcome is likely to be better than if you are treating that child at 5 years. So I guess that is the reason this talk is interested in that critical point in life. So therefore, when you find a child, there must be appropriate intervention. And I'm underlining appropriate, early and appropriate, because sometimes intervention can even make it worse if you go to the wrong places or you do the wrong thing. So how do we know a child who has eye problems? We need to know the normal. The normal eye in every child shows an eye that opens well. It's not that one part of the eye is closing or both. The eyes in straight ahead gaze, when the person is looking straight, must be steady, not dancing around. It must stay central, not that one is to the right and the other one is straight. The size must be correct, which you usually can judge by what you know previously. The color should look normal. Most time we have the black part centrally and the other part should be white, and the vision should be clear, which you can know directly or by looking at how that child behaves. Does the child look at you? If you are a mother, does this child look into your face when you are breastfeeding? If the child is crawling, does the child bump into things? We will just take a look. So, pointers to possible eye problem would include problem during pregnancy. If the mother has rashes, significant fever is admitted, the possibility that the child would have eye problem increases. If the mother has significant high blood pressure, has convulsion, for which the child is delivered before term, and the child now becomes premature, born at less than 34 weeks of pregnancy, the one they mostly say 8 months, or the mother has vaginal discharge during delivery that is not well taken care of. In some instances, the child born from that can become blind in the first month of life, or there's birth injury or asphyxia. And I would like to underline this again because it's very common for people to go and deliver in places where they can't take care of a young child appropriately. So the child does not cry in the critical minutes of life. And so that child then has what we call cortical visual impairment, and then they don't see. We have them every time. There's no clinic I run that there's no one coming with a child like that has been born somewhere, especially first-time mothers. And it has nothing to do with education. You will be surprised at what happens in our country. Or when you know a child should be sitting up at 5-6 months, the child is not. The child should be crawling, is not crawling. You know that there's a problem, and sometimes when there's a family history of blindness. So what are the signs that you may see? If you observe the child is closing one or both eyes or is frowning all the time, typically they frown because they want to maintain a small slit to see from. Because when they open the eye fully, they don't see well. You may think the person just likes to frown. The person is trying to see better. The person bumps into things and the mother will say, "Sure, Nani, can't you see? You are always bumping into things." The child cannot see. Inability to follow simple commands. When a child has very short attention span, think about it, because they cannot be engaged by vision. Remember that 83% of learning comes through vision. They move close to watch television, or if you give them a phone, they hold it to their faces, or a book. Think about it. They don't want to play with their friends or to read. And you say, "Oh, this child is stubborn." Sometimes they have poor handwriting. They can't write on a line. We're not talking about the 2-year-old being forced to write. We're talking about a proper 5-year-old who cannot write on a line. Then they're frequently rubbing the eye or blinking, or the eye is turning in or out, or dancing, or going in like this, or the head is turned to one side, the eye is like this. Remember that a child may not complain because he or she assumes that everyone sees the same way. I don't know if you want me to continue to show you various pictorial examples or you want to stop for now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof. I think it's okay if we show us some of those pictures. We will be at the same time.
Okay.
We have to be mindful of the time, so we have about 10 more minutes to round up.
Yeah, we'll be done. So these are some of the pictures. These are live children. They are Nigerian children. They are not from anywhere else. When you say whitish or cloudy eye, think about something. The eye glows like cat's eye, especially in the dark. Think about problem. The eye appears too small. If you look at this child to the left of your screen, look at this the right eye of the child. You can see that it's smaller than the one on the left. And then if you look at the one on the right, you can see that both eyes are really large. So those are pointers. And for this child, the child will be watering. The child will not open the eyes because of glaucoma in children. Or this one that we call squint. One eye is straight, the other one is turning in a different direction. They are pointers to visual problem. We call it anywhere 430, depending on the different parts of the country. When you look at the color of the eye, sometimes it's itchy, it's brownish, it's discharging. Of course, this is very obviously a difficult eye. Or when you have some other general problem, Down syndrome, or in albinos, you know that albinos eyes are always going to and fro. Usually they have eye problem. I've talked about habitual frowning or the eyes not opening properly. You can see to the one lower left, one eye is opened well, the other one is not. The one on the right, both eyes are not well open. And sometimes we don't see the problem. They are not as obvious. They are at the back of the eye. We need to use a camera to bring them out like we have used in these children. If you look at the one to the upper left, that's the normal way it should appear. Clean, sparkling, blood vessels, nice. But if you look at the one to the right, you will see that it seems there's commotion here. The vessels are so many. And you see this pale area where the blood vessels have refused to reach. That is a child born premature. You have what you see lower down, causing visual impairment in that children. And so those are some of the problems, the causes of this problem, the infection that a mother could pick up before pregnancy, that goes into pregnancy or during pregnancy, or while the child is being born. So you see some children, they are born, the head is small, or when they don't cry immediately after birth, or when there is trauma. Trauma is not just trauma that occurs during birth. Trauma during life, growing up, a child misbehaves, and then you give a backhand on the head. We have seen a number of children becoming blind from that. Somebody is so angry and just beat the child mercilessly. Or a child is born premature. Sometimes it's nutritional when we have vitamin A deficiency, and then you have measles, or you have measles, especially in a child that is not immunized. And sometimes it just happens. Sometimes it's because it runs in the family. So what can we do? Shall I go on? We all can do something.
Yes, Madam, it's okay. So yeah, I was gonna say that one, what would be good for the parents, to know as to what are the signs, the telltale signs. I know you've mentioned some of them. Just to summarize for them, then what can we do? And then we can round up after.
So if the eye of a child does not look normal, the child does not communicate effectively, if it's just smile, if the child is not doing what his age mate should do, he's not sitting when they're supposed to sit, not speaking when he's supposed to speak, it's moving close to an object, the eye appears abnormal, especially in the dark, or you take a picture and you see something whitish, please don't ignore your concerns. Do something about it. And so we advocate that everyone can do something at the family level. In fact, about 80% of problems in children would have been noticed by the family. It's only that we are a very optimistic society, which is good, but sometimes it helps us to delay. You see the problem, you say it will go away, or we go and pray, not remembering that secret things belong to God, but he has revealed some to men so that we can help ourselves by it. So when we have concerns about the look, the function of the eye, let's not ignore it. Let's go to where, don't allow anybody to convince you that it will go away. It doesn't typically go away. It's going to continue or get worse. But some of these problems will take the life of the child, especially if it's caused by a cancer, which happens. So at the level of the family, let us detect. At the level of health care, from birth to the different points when we have contact with children before they are discharged from the hospital. In fact, during antenatal, a mother is ill or has discharge from vagina, that mother should be treated. Let's make sure the mothers register properly. A mother has hypertension in pregnancy, should be managed so that that child does not come out premature. Because to manage the child premature is very expensive, including I had a child recently, well, last year, that became blind from prematurity. The child, because the child came late, we couldn't even use the laser that we had to treat the child. The child was referred to UK. They paid 38,000 pounds just to restore tubular vision. I hope you understand the import of what we're saying. 38,000 pounds. That's a lot of money. At the level of the hospital, during immunization, please, let's take a look at the children. And when the mother says, I'm worried, don't say it will go away. Let it be checked out by people who know how to check. Let them then tell the parents that there's nothing to worry about. Every school should ensure that before you enroll a child, let nobody bring a paper that they just doctor somewhere. Let the child's eye be done. We have set up a system whereby teachers are taught in school to even check the vision of children who are older. But typically, they are the ones who are already reading like age 4 to 5. But you see, if a teacher notices, because a teacher is placed in such a special position, they have about the same age group of children. And you notice one is behaving abnormally. Teacher, they talk to the big and the small, the rich and the poor. They are in a position to say that I'm sure you need to check the eye of your child. And then the government making care accessible, available, and regulation. There is one state in the country, my dear state, Kwara State, where we have what is called Child Child Protection Law that says every child should be examined at different time in early life, in the age group we are dealing with. Every government should put that in motion and fund it so that no child is needlessly blind. It's an economic issue. We will have fewer blind people, fewer miscreants on the streets if we will take care of vision. And so we all should do something about it. Immunization is very important. Rubella, I want to talk about rubella immunization. Fortunately, we have MMR now for these young children. And I know over the years, in the course of years now, we're going to have fewer children having cataract. Because cataract is one of the commonest reasons they are blind in childhood. But for those of us who have children who did not take rubella, before they begin to have children, before a girl becomes age 15, please go get rubella vaccine for them. I have gotten for my own daughter because that will in a way prevent some of these problems we are dealing with. Let's avoid toxic drinks, either directly or indirectly in herbs. All those alcoholic things that are contaminated with methanol. So many of these contaminated with all sorts of things that then lead to blindness. We see young children come to the clinic because they have been fed with a lot of these herbs that they don't know what it contains. And then harmful eye medication. A child's eye is discharging. Then they put urine, they put cafura, in fact, some of them put battery water, all sorts of things, and then they convert a small problem to a big one. Don't beat a child on the head. And when you have reasons to worry, truly be worried and have requests for check in a timely manner. And I've talked about regulation. There are people and facilities in our country, you don't need to go abroad, who can manage just about any type of eye problem in children. And that's why I put the link there. This link of Special Kids Nigeria, we developed that after this survey to put not only school for children with special needs, but where a child can receive eye and ear care across the country. So the website is Special Kids, Special KIDS Nigeria.unilorin.edu.ng. When you get to that website, you will click on Eye Ear Center. There's a list contact number of these different centers in the country, whereby, depending on where you live, there are specialists there to look at your children's eye. And then you can support care and research. Some of these children, they come, they cannot afford care because care of a child with vision problem is more expensive than that of an adult. So you can put some of your funds, you can, for birthday, for wedding, you can set aside some to take care of one child, two children. You would have reversed a cycle of poverty that is caused by visual problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. I think that's a little, and I'm so sorry for the short time because it looks like we put you under a bit of, pressure to give us so much. And there's a lot of information there that you have given to us. And I'm sure that our guests and our viewers at home are really learned. I mean, they've really learned from this. I personally have learned a lot. I really appreciate you for what you do, man. For the guests, please, if you have any question, if you go on the Facebook, a link, you can drop your questions there. We will answer. Prof is also linked to that page. If there are questions that we cannot answer now because of the time, we have to go because it's more than 30 minutes. People don't watch it, so we have to go now. And then leave your messages there. We'll answer them. We'll get back to you if it's necessary. And don't forget, our eyes, from what I've heard today, is the wealth of the nation and is the future of our nation. So we need to take it seriously and starting from our children. Thank you so much for joining us, and we really appreciate you. Have a nice weekend, and bye-bye. Thank you, Prof. And then,
thank you so much.
You're very much welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.